Hey, it's Sela Social Studies.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sealess Social Studies. So we just covered the Articles of Confederation, and now we're going to talk about that major piece of legislation that was very important that actually lasted for the nation. So roughly for the 8 years that Congress passed legislation under the Articles of Confederation, there was very little legislation that had any lasting effects or series of importance in the new young nation. American farmers, explorers, and settlers alike were migrating westward to these new lands that offered many new natural resources and opportunities. So, how would the new country react to the mass migration of people and the possibility of adding new territories or states? The Northwest Ordinance was a legislation that controlled the admission of the Midwestern territories and states into the Union and laid the groundwork for their functioning. The ordinance paved the way for manifest destiny, that God's will or obvious fate of expanding westward all the way to the Pacific Ocean. So in class, when we say the Union, it's describing the union of states that use the Constitution as its law of the land. A union is defined as an association formed by people or states with common interests. So according to Article 5 of the ordinance, there shall be formed in the said territory not less than 3, no more than 5 states, and boundaries of the states as soon as Virginia shall alter her act of cession. The fact that the territory is to the north and west of Virginia is why we believe today it is called the Northwest Ordinance. The 5 Midwest states that would be incorporated into the Union under the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 are all located north of the Ohio River Valley and include the states of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. The ordinance also laid the basis for the government of the territories and how they would become states. Districts would be controlled by a governor and would remain so until the population grew and the districts could become a represented territory. Section 9 of the Northwest Ordinance states, so soon as there shall be 5,000 male inhabitants of full age in the district, upon giving proof thereof to the governor, they shall receive authority with time and place to elect a representative from their counties or townships to represent them in the General Assembly. So once this happened, for every 5,000 free men, there would be one representative that would, and it would increase by one representative for every 5,000 free men. Remember, we're only talking about men here. Well, unfortunately, ladies, in the numbers for representation for population, you didn't count. I'm very sorry. Once the population increased and met certain predetermined standards, territories could become states. Article 5 describes that whenever any of said states shall have 60,000 free inhabitants therein, such state shall be admitted by its delegates into the Congress of the United States on an equal footing with the original states in all aspects whatsoever, and shall be at liberty to form a government and a permanent constitution and a state government. Now remember what it said. The Northwest Territory must eventually comprise of a minimum of 3 states and 5 states, and an individual territory could be admitted to statehood into the Union after having attained that population of 60,000. Under the ordinance, things like slavery was forever outlawed from the lands of the Northwest Territory. You had the freedom of religion, and other civil liberties were guaranteed as well. The resident Native Americans were promised a decent treatment, and education was provided for all, public education. And now we're going to address some of the articles that talk about this. So Article 3 addresses the religion and public education, and it states religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. The utmost good faith shall always be observed towards the natives. It says Indians there, but I'm going to say the natives. Their lands and property shall never be taken from them without their consent, and in their property, rights, and liberty they never shall be invaded or disturbed, unless in just lawful wars authorized by Congress. But laws founded in justice and humanity shall, from time to time, be made, from preventing wrongs being done to them, and for preserving peace and friendship with them. Now, Article 6 was controversial because it addressed the issue of slavery, and it stated, "There shall neither be slavery or involuntary servitude in said territory, otherwise than in the punishment of crimes whereof the party shall be duly convicted, provided always that any person escaping into the same, from whom labor or service is lawfully claimed, in any one of the original states, such fugitive may be lawfully reclaimed and conveyed to the person claiming his or her labor as their service aforesaid." This was the Northern abolitionist government, their first attempt to control the expansion of slavery. So now we're going to go ahead and discuss some of the individual rights that were preserved by the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. To break some of these down, the ordinance guaranteed the right to practice any religion freely. They gave you the right to a free public education. They provided no cruel and unusual punishment. That means that you can't get the death penalty from stealing a candy bar from the store. They guaranteed the right to a trial by jury in the law of habeas corpus, which is having to show a reason for imprisonment. So it was really important that individuals moving into this territory had these individual rights that protected them. Now, how do we divide up the Northwest Ordinance and land ownership? The Northwest Territory was the first part of the United States to actually be surveyed under the public land survey system and divided the land into counties or townships. The counties were usually divided into areas of 36 square miles that were divided then into 36 plots measuring 1 square mile each. After the plots and sections were divided up into square miles, or 640 acres, they could be broken down into half section lots, quarter section lots, or even quarter section lots, which was about 40 acres. It was also required that each county or township use one of its sections for public education and public buildings. Now, Thomas Jefferson's influence can be seen on the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 because he was such a staunch supporter of farmers and their land ownership. Remember that Jefferson had a vision that the United States would be an agrarian republic made up of hardworking farmers. And Hamilton was quite the opposite. He thought it was going to be made up of the businessman, the trader, the bankers. So the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 really divided up the land in that Northwest Territory and laid down the rules of how it can become a territory to a state, to create its own government, its own constitution, how many people had to live there. So that's why it was really important. And the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 was used to incorporate states into the Union for some time to come. I'll see you next time.